All right, hello. Hey, everybody. How's it going? So, welcome to the stream. Just going to be a chill, relaxing art stream today, quarantine edition, as I said in the thumbnail. Not to make fun of the current situation, but to me, it's interesting because I've got this sort of hobby that's going to keep me inside and just working on art most of the time anyway. So, from my point of view, being quarantined, not a lot has changed. I'm in the house. I'm either watching a movie or drawing or doing both at the same time. And the biggest change is like I'm sure it's the same for some of you guys. You go out there, you go to the grocery store, and it's like, where's all the paper towels? Where's all the toilet paper? Where are the eggs? But hopefully that sort of stuff will get sorted out sooner rather than later. But anyway, drawing today. I might draw a couple different things. We'll just see how it goes. But right now, I am drawing. Maybe you can tell. This is like my version of Wonder Woman in her golden eagle armor, which was something that was in the comics. And then, now they're putting it in Wonder Woman 1984, the new Wonder Woman movie that who knows when it's going to come out. Because I guess that's the other thing that's changed. Now that everyone's in quarantine, everyone's practicing social distancing. The other big change is that, well, from my point of view, the movie theaters have shut down, like AMC, Regal, some other chains. In my area, there's like a couple of local places and a drive-in. The drive-in's still open. You can still go see a movie at the drive-in. But other than that, I wonder. It's like so many things have gotten pushed back or delayed. Wonder Woman is one of those, and it's like, when will that eventually come out? Uh, I have no idea, but it's almost like just all of 2020, just like all the entertainment you were expecting, whether you're going to go to a comic convention, music festival, any sort of live show, or any public gathering. It's all just canceled. 2020 is canceled, and that's kind of a bummer. Also, kind of a bummer. Actually, I feel like I'm improving. Let me know if the audio is working okay this time, or if there's any other technical issues with the stream I need to be focusing on. Because this time, I got a new webcam. I'm using a new old webcam, a Logitech C615. Maybe you've heard of it, but it's like a low-end model that you can stream with. That it seems like it's nice quality, but I'm having trouble with getting it to act right with the green screen. Uh, so I feel like just the webcam on the laptop itself, this old Dell computer, like that was doing better than this fancier independent webcam for the green screen. But the video quality seems better. But it's also, I feel like I'm coming off a little more red than I actually am in person. But what can you do? Uh, but anyway, so let me know if technically it seems like things are improving. Um, Man, also I'm curious, like if anyone's watching and you want to join the chat and you want to talk about like the what's the delayed movie that you're most upset about that you're like, oh man, they pushed that back. For me, it was Fast and Furious 9 because I'd already bought tickets for that, and then they delayed it and refunded my tickets, and it's going to come out like April of next year now. It's so far away. And Wonder Woman might be, well, I think actually New Mutants. New Mutants is the one that after Fast and Furious and like number one in terms of comic movies, where I was so upset because it's already been delayed for years, and they pushed it back again. Uh, and then I think Wonder Woman's number three for me in terms of stuff that is kind of annoying that it got pushed back. And then there is some stuff that it doesn't really phase me too much one way or the other. I'll see when it comes out. And for me, that's like James Bond. Like whenever James Bond No Time to Die comes out, I'll be like, okay, sure. I'm looking forward to the James Bond a little more than the last couple James Bond movies, because this one I think is directed by Cary Fukunaga. Darn it, I forgot how to say his name, but the guy who directed the True Detective season one episodes, that whole first season of True Detective, and maybe he's done some other movies too. But I was curious what he was going to do with James Bond, because he's a stylish director. If you don't believe me, go back, watch True Detective season one. Also, let's say, speaking of HBO, you can't go to the box office anymore, right? So what do? You got to stay home and watch HBO Home box office. This is how they win. And I guess they're still on track. That's what they're saying. They're doing a new streaming service, HBO is, called HBO Max. And I was just browsing through what will potentially be on there. It seems like the biggest hook is going to be all the episodes of Friends. So if you're a Friends fanatic and you got to and you don't own all the DVDs, like my brother I think has all the seasons of Friends on DVD. So he doesn't need HBO Max. But if you don't have it on DVD and you want to watch it repeatedly on a streaming service, you're going to need HBO Max, which they say is still coming out in May. And why would you even need to delay a streaming service? I mean, that's the one thing that seems like we'd be doing gangbusters right now, although there's sacrifices have had to have been made. Not so much in America, but apparently in Europe, I read an article that European Netflix is being throttled. Like they're not getting the full HD or the Ultra HD because like everyone's staying home and using Netflix. They've only got so much bandwidth. And so they're giving everybody, I don't know, what, 720, 480, 360? 144? That'd be awful. So that's kind of a bummer. And there's also other people saying like, in response to that, like, finally I feel smart for investing in DVDs and Blu-rays for all these years. And it's like, yeah, there's something to that unless, well, if the electricity goes out, I think I'm covered there. I can't stream, but I've got so many like books and comic books that I haven't read and art to work on that I would be okay if the power went out. I would just have to remember to read while the sun is out. And then hopefully power goes back on before we're in full summer mode and I'm really missing that air conditioning. But hey, people lived without it before, right? Anyway, not to alarm people, like saying, okay, this is what's happening. It's all falling apart. This is the end of society. I don't think we're there yet. But in terms of HBO Max, like the stuff that I want to see on HBO Max is just the stuff that they're rumored to be releasing. So I heard there was a rumor that they might actually, for example, put this new Wonder Woman movie on HBO Max like they release it on the streaming service. I think that's unlikely. I think that's a completely unfounded rumor. There's probably no way they're going to do that because, there's hundreds of millions of dollars to be made with the normal box office release. But you also got to keep in mind, like, I really wonder about this with the Fast and the Furious, like, or any movie, but I know the Fast and the Furious is going to be delayed for a calendar year, and it's like any movie that gets pushed back a year, no matter how good it is, like it's going to show some signs of age almost immediately. And like with the Fast and the Furious, they've always got, like fairly new music, like new popular music. So it's like if they have the same soundtrack next year when the movie comes out, and it was like popular music from March of 2020, and now they're trying to play it in 2021. Well, it may not have the same impact, or like, people may be over the songs that they ended up using. Or it may be like, well, what's the one that stood the test of time? What was Furious 7 2015, See You Again? Of course, that one got played everywhere for a year plus, and I would say I'm still not sick of that one. But probably, when it comes to popular music, the soundtracks are going to suffer if they have to push these movies back too much. So it's a tangent, but going back to what I was talking about with HBO Max, the other thing that there was a rumor that they would bring to HBO Max was the Justice League movie, the Zack Snyder cut of the Justice League movie. Like that one, and that would be enough to get me to sign up for that service. But from my point of view, Friends is not enough. And we've got HBO, so I'm still not entirely sure what the difference is. And it's like they say, if you're an AT&T HBO customer, then in that case, which is like AT&T owns Time Warner, which owns Warner Brothers, which owns HBO. But it's like if you're an AT&T Uverse customer, then you get like a complimentary HBO Max subscription if you're already a regular HBO customer too. But we don't get it. We don't have AT&T Uverse. So I guess that wouldn't apply to our household. I don't know. We'll see. But if it's just Friends, I'm not going to miss it that much. That'll be fine. But if it's the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, I will seek it out. I'll get that streaming service. But, there's been, even without new movies coming to the theater, there has been thankfully some older movies that I've been able to catch up on with the streaming services that are all still working just fine. And it's like we've had Amazon Prime for a while, but I was just recently got into like browsing around the movie selections on Amazon Prime, and there's some stuff worth watching on there. Some things I never got around to, like the movie Clue from the '80s, based on the board game. But what is it? The Parker Brothers board game? But Clue is a fun movie from the '80s that I think what they did with that was like when they originally released it in theaters, it had like depending on what region of the United States you were in, they released versions of the movie where there was like a different ending. It was like a different killer. So they have 3 different endings. If you just watch it now, they just play all 3 endings back to back to back. But that must have been crazy. It's like if you lived, let's say you moved away for college and you watched Clue and then you called your family back home several states away and you're like, wow, wasn't it crazy when it turned out like Mrs. Peacock did it? Spoiler for one of the endings. And they're like, what? No, that's crazy. It wasn't her. It was Mr. Green. They're like, what? No. And then you feel like you're taking crazy pills because it's like, what? No, you can't just have a different version of the movie. I mean, there's been more recent iterations of that, like in the theater. Like I think, wasn't it true with the X-Men Origins movie, Wolverine, that came out in like 2008, that they had like different stingers at the end? Like one stinger was something with Deadpool, the Deadpool with his mouth sewed shut. Everyone's favorite version of the character. Not really. Ha ha ha. They had one stinger that was released in some theaters with that, and then there was another one that was like a different stinger. It was like, but I forget what the other one was. Maybe that was just a rumor too. I don't know. I need verification on that. And then what was this was when they did the Cats movie last year. Well, this is a little different. They had updates for the movie. Like the CGI was not finished for the first week of release. Like they still had human hands instead of like cat hands, fur hands. So they had to update the movie while it was still in theaters. It's a little bit different from having just different versions of the movie showing at different places. But I'm curious, are there any other movies that have done that? But anyway, Clue was fun. It was one that I'd never seen before. I was, of course, aware that like Tim Curry was in it, and he's great. Rest in peace. Miss that guy. Miss that actor. He's also great if you've never seen it as basically the devil in Legend, and as he's in the Charlie's Angels movies from 2000, and a bunch of other stuff too. But he's really, really great in Legend. He just disappears underneath all that makeup. So I watched Clue, and then that's pretty good. What was even more fun than that, what's crazy, is you ever seen the Land of the Lost with Will Ferrell, based in the old Sid and Marty Krofft TV show from like the 70s? And there was also, it's funny because it's like originally from the 70s, I think, 70s. But then there was also like a reboot in the 90s that I saw on like Saturday morning TV. So that was the version I was more familiar with, the short-lived 90s version. My 90s kids will remember this. But I had never seen the Will Ferrell movie from 2009, and it's nice now. It's like this neat sort of time capsule from that period of Will Ferrell movies. Like everyone's seen, right, like Anchorman or Ricky Bobby Talladega Nights, like the classics. But then there's some that maybe not everybody have seen from that time period, like Stranger Than Fiction. Although I did see that one back in the day. Stranger Than Fiction. Bewitched, another sort of like weird like TV show reboot movie he was in. And that was like a TV show within a movie sort of plot, because it was like they were rebooting Bewitched in the movie as part of the plot. So that one, I might have to go back and rewatch that. I don't remember that being that great at the time. But with Land of the Lost, like I said, it's this nice sort of time capsule for that period of Will Ferrell movies. And it's like cool that I was able to see another one from that period. And it's like, this is it. This is primo Will Ferrell time. And not just him, it's also got Danny McBride, who around that time, this was a couple years after it, I guess, but he was in Hot Rod, with the Lonely Island guys. And there's another Lonely Island guy buried under a bunch of makeup in Land of the Lost. Yorma Tacone is in like the Chaka makeup. He's the monkey man in that movie. But yeah, it was funny. I recommend it. If you've got What was this on? Actually, I think we watched that one on Stars. If you've got Stars, you've got access to it. But probably you get like a DVD of it cheap if you want to go back and watch Land of the Lost. I recommend it. It's fun. It's like, again, Primo, Farrell, and Danny McBride. They're just killing it. There's this great bit. You know, this is like kind of a trope in these sorts of comedy movies where there's like a period where the characters like end up like doing drugs or getting too drunk, and then there's like this scene where they're just out of control. You know, that happens in like that happened in the Will Ferrell movie, The Other Guys, where they had like that drunk scene, and then it also, let's see, there was that acid scene in Hot Rod, but in this one it's like they're taking this Land of the Lost like fruit, they eat it, and it causes them to start tripping out, and it's like there's Danny McBride or Will Ferrell, I forget who's saying it. He's like, I'm so hungry. And they see on the horizon, like, this giant crab starts coming at them. And then they get scared, right? Because it's like Land of the Lost. Everything's dangerous. Crab's coming at you. But then, luckily, the crab, they're, like, on this, like, sandy dune type area. And the, like, crab, like, crashes through the sand into, like, this hot water reservoir beneath it. And then just, like, well, it's like a geyser shoots up. And, like, the crab's now been fully cooked. So it's like, oh, that's great. That's dinner. So now they can eat this giant crab that's just been immediately, it shows up, it looks like it was going to be dangerous, like a monster, and then it got cooked. So that was the bit that made me laugh the hardest. But I won't spoil anything else in the movie. I spoiled the crab joke, but that was fun. Fun movie to watch. What else did I see? This one's obscure. I watched Into the Night with, who is it? Jeff Goldblum and Michelle Pfeiffer. So another 80s movie. And this is kind of the that genre of film where it's like, what? Guy bored with his life, Jeff Goldblum, and, you know, his wife's having an affair and his job's going terrible and just things aren't going his way. So he meets a trouble blonde. He meets this mysterious female who's apparently in a lot of trouble because he meets her, Michelle Pfeiffer, of course, and she's being chased by these guys with guns who clearly are trying to kill her. So it's like she just jumps into Jeff Goldblum's car as he's like driving around, and like he parks in a parking garage, like all depressed because his life is awful. So Michelle Pfeiffer jumps in the car. She's like, drive, just drive. And then they have, you know, like sort of an extended adventure for the rest of the movie together. And it's like, it's just, you know, it's like it's not what I would do in that situation. I'd be like, nah, get out. I know that you're Michelle Pfeiffer, but please, I don't need this in my life right now. Get out of here. Who needs this trouble? But I won't spoil the rest of that. I will just say I liked it more than I thought I would. It turned out to be a more than entertaining movie. More than 3 stars, I'll say. An above average film. And I think a lot of that has to do with, it was directed by John Landis. Remember, he did Thriller. So this is a guy who knows what he's doing. So that was, he also, you know, coincidence too, John Landis produced Clue, that movie. And he did not direct that one. But Clue is like, in terms of, I mean, haunted house, like locked room mystery sort of stuff is fun no matter what. But I really, really like the production design on the Clue movie, like the set and everything. And the house just looks incredible. So that's a lot of fun. So yeah, Into the Night. And then last one, I imagine there's got to be some interest from viewers of this channel for this one. Probably a lot of people have already seen it. Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, which I missed the chance to go see this in the theatrical run. But, you know, this was like an expensive theatrical run where, like, Kevin Smith was touring with this movie and doing, like, a Q&A. So it's like if you wanted tickets, it was like $50 a head or something. Which is like, you know, I was all right waiting for this movie to come out, to come to a streaming service. And this one's on Amazon Prime now. So if you got Prime, you can stream it for free. Or as, you know, a benefit of your Prime subscription. So Kevin Smith's Jay and Silent Bob I knew I was going to like this. I'm kind of like, I'm a fan going way back. Like, I remember friends of mine and I, like in 7th or 8th grade, rented 7th, 8th, 9th grade? Somewhere in junior high. Like, we were renting on VHS, like, Clerks and Mallrats and being like, this is the funniest stuff we have ever seen. You know, it's that very sort of juvenile humor to it. And this definitely keeps pace with that, but it's a nice sort of like, I mean, it's like Jay and Silent Bob, that movie came out in 2001. Hey, looks like we got someone in the chat. The R Vlogs is joining us, saying hello. And how you doing? Doing great. How you doing? Welcome to the chat. Talking about some movies I've watched recently. If you want, give me a movie recommendation. After the stream today, I'm looking for a movie to watch. It could be anywhere. It could be on Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, anywhere. I'll find it if it's available. But right now, if you got any recommendations, let me know. But right now, I'm talking about Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. And like I was saying, like that first Jay and Silent Bob movie came out like 2001. And I remember going to see that. You know, I was a little bit older. It was past junior high at that time. I was an adult. I could go see an R-rated movie in the theater. And that's about as popular in terms of box office as Kevin Smith movies ever got. So I remember like we went, I think opening night, meet a bunch of friends for Jay and Silent Bob, that movie. And we saw other people we knew there. And it was like kind of, it was a crowded theater. There was enough interest for him at that time, you know, and then like flash forward, 7 or 8 years later, I remember going to see Clerks 2 in a not so crowded theater for comparison's sake. And even like on the other side, I remember like before Jay and Silent Bob, Dogma, when that came out, there was like some mass interest in that. Like me and a bunch of friends went. And actually that one was funny because that one was like pretty decent crowd size for the movie. But then also outside there were protesters. If you remember this, there were people protesting the religious aspects or what the religious irreverence of that film Dogma by Kevin Smith. And now it's like, you know, I just don't know if even the interest is there from religious groups to, you know, protest a Kevin Smith film. It's just like, well, it's not that popular anymore. But Jay and Silent Bob Reboot is really interesting. It's fun. It's this nice sort of meditation on, what should I say, mortality. I think from Kevin Smith's point of view, it's more about like fatherhood and the next generation and like, you know, how the children are our future, that sort of thing. Because, minor spoiler, one of the main characters ends up having a daughter in the film. And it's maybe not who you think. Or maybe it is. You got a 50-50 shot here. So, it's just, it's a nice little message. And it kind of like, it foregrounds like how much older everyone looks. Because you can't get away from it. Like Jay and Silent Bob, Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith both look older than they did 20 years ago. And, you know, that's true for all of us. We all look older than we did 20 years ago. Not always worse, but definitely older. And it's just nice that they what should I say? It's like they put a lampshade on it, or they don't just try to ignore that very, very blatant fact that they're all getting older. And it's part of the story in Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. So it really is one of those movies. It's like if you're the sensitive type, it might be true. This movie will make you laugh and it might make you cry. It might make you a little bit emotional. I'm not saying it made me emotional. I mean, this is no Rudy, for comparison's sake. It's not nearly as, it doesn't have that sort of tear-jerking quality that Rudy does. Or what's the other one? The Cider House Rules. I'll put those up as my examples of like, they're just so emotionally powerful. But Jay and Silent Bob Reboot is a little more emotionally powerful, a little more melancholic at times than I would have thought. And it's also nice to see cameos from people that you might not think would still do cameos for Kevin Smith films. Like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck both show up in this film. That's really cool. And there's a lot of other cameos too. Although sadly, again, speaking of mortality, a lot of the people that Kevin Smith worked with were unable to provide cameos in this. You know, among them like Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia, George Carlin, and Stan Lee. And Stan Lee, there's a nice bit in here too, in the Jay and Silent Bob movie about, you know, Stan Lee and what he meant to us, and well, more specifically, what he meant to Kevin Smith. And there's even some nice footage of Stan Lee too, although it was, well, you know, like Kevin Smith on the convention circuit for the past couple years, like he would do appearances with Stan Lee, and it's like he would tell Stan Lee, "I got a cameo for you. We're doing a new movie with Jay and Silent Bob, and here's what your cameo is going to be." And, you know, unfortunately, they didn't get to do that. But also, I mean, that was similar with Todd McFarlane would also do these appearances with Stan Lee. And he was talking to Stan about how, like, I want you to do a cameo in the Spawn movie. And unfortunately, you know, that was a couple years ago when he was saying that. They still haven't filmed the Spawn movie yet. Could still happen. But unfortunately, there's not going to be the ability to have that Stan Lee cameo anymore because, obviously, unfortunately, he has passed on. But yeah, I recommend Jay and Silent Bob, the reboot. So that's basically what I've been up to in terms of watching movies. So those are the big ones that I saw. Like again, Clue, Into the Night, Jay and Silent Bob, Land of the Lost. I'm thinking today I've got time. It's a lazy Sunday. Woke up in the late afternoon. No, that's a different one. Lazy Sunday. I'm thinking of putting on like a historical epic today, like something like Alexander or Cleopatra, like a movie that's 4 hours long because I've got the time for it. Who knows when I'll ever have the time again to like watch Cleopatra all in one sitting. So I'm leaning towards that. That is my personal vote for what I watched today. But besides that, I think I'm going to start wrapping this up. I want to thank everyone that watched along while I was drawing, while I was working on this Wonder Woman art, and listened to my capsule movie reviews. I'd like to thank specifically the RV Logs. Thanks for joining into the chat, man. Thanks for joining in briefly, saying hi. Always appreciate that. And of course, I appreciate the viewers that I got that come in and check things out later on as well. I will, before I go, I'll show you guys a couple of other pages of things that I have been working on. For example, like I was working on this Spawn image. You recognize this from my Thursday stream when I was talking about the new Spawn comic. And you can see I got a little bit more progress here. And I was drawing Spawn ripping off Raptor's head, the new character. You know, you gotta stay on brand with how would Spawn handle this. And then I've also got this X-Men page that I'm kind of happy with this as this is coming together. I'm liking this. Mikey, I think he likes it. So this is my X-Men page of fan art that I've been working on. X-Men versus the Brood. You can tell it's going to become a little more action-packed here on the next page. And then, what is this? Oh yeah, this Harley image. And that's basically what I've been working on. I'll just throw this Spawn up, leave it on here. As I go into my sales pitch, the YouTube sales pitch, you've heard it before. You're about to hear it again. Remember, if you like the video, please do smash like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Tap the bell for notifications so you always get that warning every time I'm about to go live. Although I do like to post, I like to put up the video information a day or so ahead of time to give everyone fair warning when I'm going to go live. I will in all likelihood be back this next Wednesday with more X-Men reviews. We got the new Wolverine, new X-Men, new giant-sized Nightcrawler coming out this week, so I'm going to do some more X-Men art, talk about that as we get closer to, as when Wednesday rolls around. And then besides that, if you're an artist yourself, keep at it. You got to keep drawing. It's the only way to get better. You know, again, one of the advantages of this sort of social distancing and this quarantine we're all going through right now is that it gives you time to practice, work on your art. And, besides that, hopefully everyone else, you're staying healthy, you're being well, you're being good, you're enjoying your time. And I know I've enjoyed my time. So thanks to everyone again for joining in. And I will see everyone next time. So peace out.